The New Horizon was dying. Fire burned in a dozen sections. The quantum drive was completely destroyed, leaving the Worldship unable to move under its own power. Half the weapons were offline. Casualty reports showed 20,000 dead and twice that number wounded. The medical bays were overwhelmed. The streets ran red with blood, but the humans kept fighting. Bora stood in the command center watching the Velcro fleet regroup. They were pulling back, organizing for a final push. This time they would not hold back. This time they would simply destroy everything. Options, Bora demanded. Her voice was hoarse from shouting orders for hours. Give me anything. Jinho looked up from his tactical display. His uniform was torn and burned in places. We have one chance. It is insane, but it might work. He pulled up a holographic image of the largest piece of the shattered planet. It was massive, roughly the size of Earth's moon, drifting through space not far from the New Horizon's position. We pre-positioned nuclear charges on that rock, Jinho said, and quantum bore drilling devices. If we detonate them all at once, we can destabilize the entire structure. Break it into thousands of smaller pieces, all moving in different directions. Yunji saw where he was going. The Velcro fleet is positioned between us and that rock. If we can make them move closer to it, then trigger the charges, we turn the debris field into a weapon, Jinho finished. But we need them to chase us. We need them to think we are running. Running where? Sang-woo asked. He had blood on his hands from helping in the medical bays. Our drive is dead. We cannot run. Bora looked at the holographic display. The New Horizon was burning and broken, but it still had maneuvering thrusters. Small engines meant to adjust position and orientation. If they fired them all at once, pushed the thrusters far beyond their safety limits, they could move. Slowly, but enough to look like they were trying to escape. We make them think we are desperate, Bora said. We light up what is left of our engines. We broadcast distress signals. We make it look like we are trying to reach that rock for cover. And when they follow, we blow the rock and kill them all, Jinho said. Along with ourselves, probably. Those debris fragments will be moving fast. Some will hit us. Better than dying in their cages, Bora said. She looked around the command center. Every face showed exhaustion and pain, but also determination.
Get it ready.
We move in 10 minutes, word spread through the Worldship. This was it. The last throw of the dice. Taemin and his engineering teams fired up every remaining thruster, pushing them to maximum output and beyond. The New Horizon began to move, slowly crawling toward the massive rock fragment. From his flagship, Thoran saw the movement. He smiled. The humans were trying to run, trying to reach cover. It was pathetic. Their ship was barely moving. He could catch them easily, crush them against that rock like insects. All ships advance, Thoran ordered. Cut off their escape. Force them against that rock and finish this. The Velcro fleet moved forward, accelerating to intercept. Thoran wanted to end this personally. These humans had humiliated him. They had destroyed a third of his fleet with mining equipment and civilian shuttles. He would make them suffer before they died. On the New Horizon, Bora watched the alien fleet take the bait. They were moving exactly where she needed them. The timing would have to be perfect. Minseo, take your remaining fighters and hit their flanks, Bora ordered. Keep them focused on you. Keep them moving forward. Minseo had 19 fighters left from her original 70. She led them out one more time. They swarmed around the Velcro ships like angry insects, firing their lasers, drawing fire. More pilots died, but they kept fighting. Every second they bought was another second for the plan to work. Daehyun's ship was badly damaged, half his systems offline. But he kept flying. He broadcast false sensor readings, making it look like the New Horizon was even more damaged than it was. He wanted the Velcro to smell blood, to press forward recklessly. Ji-won worked her remaining sensors, tracking the Velcro positions precisely. They are in position. All ships are within the blast radius. Bora took a breath. This was it. 8 million people were counting on her to make the right call. If she waited too long, the Velcro would realize the trap. If she acted too soon, some might escape. Detonate, Bora ordered. Deep inside the massive rock fragment, the nuclear charges and quantum bore devices activated simultaneously. The rock had been stable for millions of years. Now in an instant it came apart. The explosions created fracture lines that spread through the entire structure. Trillions of tons of rock began to fragment and separate. Physics took over. The rock exploded outward in a cascading chain reaction. Massive boulders, some the size of mountains, others the size of cities, flew in all directions. Smaller pieces, still weighing millions of tons, filled the space between them. It was an avalanche in 3 dimensions, a tsunami of stone and metal moving at incredible speeds. The Velcro fleet tried to evade. Ships turned, fired their engines, attempted to escape the trap. But they were too close. The debris field was too dense. Rocks the size of buildings slammed into warships at thousands of meters per second. Shields flickered and failed under the constant impacts. Hulls cracked and broke. Thorin's flagship tried to push through the storm. Point defense weapons vaporized smaller rocks but could not stop the massive fragments. One boulder, easily 2 kilometers across, smashed into the flagship's side. The ship's structure groaned and twisted. Internal bulkheads collapsed. The bridge lost power. In his last moments, Thorin understood. The humans had not been running. They had been leading him into a trap. They had weaponized an entire moon against him. He died still not truly understanding the species he had tried to enslave. On the new horizon, the crew watched their sensors as Velcro ships disappeared from the display one by one. Some were destroyed outright. Others were damaged so badly they could not maintain position. A few tried to retreat but were caught by debris and torn apart. Then the debris reached the new horizon. Bora had known this would happen. They were too close to avoid all of it. "All hands brace for impact," Bora called over the intercom. Rocks slammed into the Worldship's hull, smaller fragments but still moving incredibly fast. The outer armor held in most places but not everywhere. More hull breaches, more casualties. The ship shook and groaned like a wounded animal. In the cargo bay where Jae-sung and his defenders had been fighting, a massive impact cracked the wall. The remaining Velcro soldiers tried to retreat through the breach in their lines. Jae-sung's people cut them down. No mercy, not after what they had tried to do. Haewon's fighter was hit by a fragment no bigger than her fist. At the speed it was traveling, it punched clean through her ship's hull. Alarm screamed. Air rushed out. She fought to control the damaged craft. Managed to limp back toward the New Horizons hangar. She crashed more than landed for the 2nd time in a week. Dae-hyun saw his daughter's fighter go down. He abandoned his position and raced to the hangar, his heart in his throat. By the time he arrived, medical teams were already pulling Haewon from the wreckage. She was alive but badly hurt, blood covering her flight suit. "Dad," Haewon whispered when she saw him.
"Did we win?"
Dae-hyun looked at his daughter. This brave, stupid, wonderful girl who had flown into battle twice to save her people. He could not find words, so he just held her hand while the medics worked. In the command center, the sensors finally cleared. The debris storm was settling. Bora counted the Velcro ships still showing on her display. 12. Out of 47, 12 had survived. And most of those were damaged, limping away as fast as they could manage. "They are retreating," Jin Ho reported, his voice filled with disbelief. "Admiral, they are running away." Bora slumped in her command chair. They had won. Somehow, impossibly, they had won. "Send a message on all frequencies," Bora said. "Tell them we came in peace. Tell them they brought war. Tell them that if they ever threaten a human ship again, we will do worse than this." Sang-woo broadcast the message. The surviving Velcro ships did not respond. They just kept running. The New Horizon drifted in space, battered and burning. The casualty reports kept coming in. 50,000 dead. Another 50,000 wounded. Entire sections of the ship were destroyed. The quantum drive would need to be completely rebuilt. It would take years, but they were alive. 8 million people, minus the 50,000 who had died defending them. 8 million people who were still free. Yoo-jin worked in the medical bays until she collapsed from exhaustion. Her staff caught her, laid her on a cot, let her sleep for an hour, then woke her because they needed her. There were too many wounded. Not enough doctors. Never enough time. Yoonji surveyed the damage to the quantum drive and started making lists. They would need new parts. New designs. It would take time, but she could rebuild it. She could make it work. Humans were good at fixing things. Jae-sung stood in the cargo bay, looking at the bodies of his defenders and the Velcro soldiers they had killed. He had been a farmer. He had grown food and enjoyed the peace. Now he was a soldier again and he hated it. But he had done what was necessary. They all had. Days later, when the immediate crisis had passed, Bora called a memorial service. They gathered in the Central Park. all 8 million survivors who could attend. The 48 hours passed like a nightmare. Every person on the New Horizon worked until they collapsed, then got up and worked more. Sleep became a luxury no one could afford. The Worldship streets, normally filled with the sounds of children playing and people going about their daily lives, now echoed with the sounds of preparation for war. Bora stood in the command center and watched her people transform their home into a fortress. On one screen, she saw construction crews welding armor plates over critical systems. On another, civilians trained with rifles in the Central Park using trees for cover. A third screen showed Tai Min and his engineering teams working on the mining lasers, converting tools meant to break apart asteroids into weapons meant to kill. Jin Ho had barely left the tactical planning room. He stood at a massive holographic display showing the debris field where they had positioned the New Horizon. It was the remains of a shattered planet, broken apart millions of years ago by some cosmic catastrophe. Massive chunks of rock drifted through space in a loose cloud. It was the only cover available for light years in any direction. "They will come through here," Jin Ho said, pointing to a gap in the debris field. "It is the clearest path to our position. We need to mine it heavily." Daehyun, standing beside him, nodded. "We have converted 200 cargo containers into explosive drones. Remote-controlled, packed with everything flammable or explosive we could find. It will not be enough to stop them, but it will hurt." "Hurt is all we need," Jin Ho said. "Make them bleed. Make them slow down. Give us time to hit them again." In her laboratory deep inside the Worldship, Yoonji worked on the most dangerous part of the plan. The quantum drive sat in front of her, a massive piece of machinery that normally operated with perfect precision. She was deliberately breaking it, pushing it to create instabilities that would cascade into a massive gravitational pulse. Her assistant, a young engineer named Min Ho, watched nervously. "If this goes wrong, it could tear a hole in space itself. If this goes right, it might do the same thing," Yoonji said calmly. "But we only need it to work once. 30 seconds of shield disruption. That is all we are asking for. And if the Worldship breaks apart when we fire it?" Yoonji looked at him. "Then we die fighting instead of in cages. I know which one I prefer." Minseo, the commander of the fighter wing, gathered her pilots in the main hangar. They stood in rows, young and old, looking at her with frightened eyes. Most of them had trained to fly shuttles between the Worldship and potential colony sites. They had practiced landing on planets, not fighting wars in space. "I will not lie to you," Minseo said. "Our chances are bad. We are flying civilian shuttles and work pods against military warships. We are going to lose people, probably most of us. But while we are out there, we are buying time for our families inside the New Horizon. Every second we keep them distracted is another second for the big guns to reload, another second for our people to live." One of the younger pilots, a boy barely 20 years old, raised his hand. "What if we run? What if we just scatter in all directions? Some of us might escape." Minseo shook her head. "Run to where? This is it. This is the line. Behind us is everyone we love. We do not run from that. We never run from that." The pilots returned to their ships. Minseo watched them go, knowing that many would not come back. But they were going anyway. That was what humans did. In the medical bays, Yujin and her staff prepared for casualties. They set up emergency surgery rooms in schools and community centers. They trained volunteers in basic first aid. They stocked supplies and prepared to deal with injuries they had only read about in books. Radiation burns, decompression trauma, wounds from weapons humanity had never encountered before. "We are going to lose people," Yujin told her staff. "Many people. Do not let that stop you. Save who you can. Give comfort to those you cannot save. Remember that we are doctors. That does not change even in war." Throughout the Worldship, ordinary people became warriors. Jae-sung had been a farmer on Earth before joining the colony mission. He worked in the hydroponics bays, growing food for the 8 million inhabitants. Now he stood in a meeting room with other farmers and mechanics and teachers, all holding rifles they barely knew how to use. "I fought in Earth's last war," Jae-sung told them. 30 years ago in the African Union conflicts. I saw what combat looks like. It is chaos. It is terror. But it is also simple. When they come through those halls, you point your weapon and you fire. You protect the person next to you. You trust them to protect you. That is all combat really is. People standing together against the darkness. An older woman, a teacher named Haye Jin, raised her hand. "I have never hurt anyone in my life. I do not know if I can. You can, Jae-sung said, because they are not just coming for you. They are coming for your students. For the children you teach every day. When the time comes, you will find the strength. We all will. Sang-woo walked through the streets of the Worldship trying to keep morale up. He visited the defensive positions, thanked the volunteers, helped where he could. He saw fear on every face, but also determination. These people had left Earth to build a new world. They had crossed the empty darkness between galaxies. They were not going to let aliens take their future away. In the docking bay, Haewon supervised the repair of her courier ship. The damage from the Velcro weapons was extensive, but she refused to stand down. Her father tried to argue with her, but she was as stubborn as he was. I am a pilot, Haewon said. A good one. You trained me yourself. Right now we need every good pilot we have. I am not hiding while others fight. Dae-hyun looked at his daughter and saw himself 30 years ago. Young, brave, and too stupid to understand mortality. He pulled her into a hug. Fly smart, he said. Stay alive. That is an order. Yes, Captain, Haewon said, hugging him back. The countdown continued. 36 hours. 24 hours. 12 hours. The tension on the new horizon became almost unbearable. People worked until they dropped, then forced themselves to get up and work more. There was no time for rest. No time for doubt. Bora called a final briefing 6 hours before the Velcro fleet was expected to arrive. She stood before her officers, all of them exhausted, all of them ready. We are about to fight a battle we cannot win, Bora said. The enemy has better ships, better weapons, and more experience. They think we are prey. They think we will break easily. They are wrong. We are human. We came from a planet that tried to kill us every day. We survived ice ages and plagues and wars. We built cities and sent ships to the stars. We crossed the space between galaxies because we refused to stay where we were told we belonged. That is who we are. That is what they do not understand. She looked at each officer in turn. When they come, we hit them with everything we have. We make them pay for every meter of hull. We show them that attacking humanity means pain and death and regret. Maybe we cannot win, but we can make sure they remember. We can make sure that the next time someone sees a human ship, they think twice. That is our job today, to make them remember. The officers saluted and returned to their stations. Bora stayed in the command center watching the clock count down. Behind her, displays showed every system of the Worldship operating at maximum capacity. Weapons charged, drones positioned, people at their posts. With 1 hour remaining, Yoonji reported that the quantum drive weapon was ready. It would work once, maybe. After that, the drive would need to be completely rebuilt, assuming the Worldship survived the firing. With 30 minutes remaining, sensors detected the first Velcro ships entering the debris field. 47 warships moving in perfect formation, the fleet that was coming to capture humanity's prize. Bora activated the ship-wide intercom. Her voice carried to every corner of the new horizon, to every person preparing to fight or die. They are here, Bora said. Remember what we fight for. Remember who we are. And remember that we will never, ever surrender. All stations battle ready. Show them why Earth conquered its own star system in just 300 years. The Velcro fleet approached. On the command center's main screen, Bora could see their ships. They were beautiful in a terrible way, sleek and deadly, glowing with power. Bora sat in her command chair and gave the order that would start the battle. Fire everything. The first wave hit the Velcro fleet before they even knew the battle had started. 200 explosive drones, each one a converted cargo container packed with fuel and chemicals, swarmed out from the debris field. They moved in patterns that looked random but were carefully choreographed. The aliens' targeting computers struggled to lock onto so many small, fast-moving objects. The Velcro commander, a being named Thoran, watched from his flagship with amusement. These primitive humans were sending cargo containers against warships. It was almost sad. He ordered his fleet to simply shoot the drones down. Point defense lasers lit up space, destroying drone after drone. But that was exactly what Jinho had planned. When the drones exploded, they created massive clouds of debris and gas. Sensors became confused. Targeting systems lost accuracy. And in that moment of confusion, the New Horizon opened fire with its real weapons. Mining lasers, designed to cut through solid rock from kilometers away, focused their beams on the closest Velcro ships. The alien shields held, but the lasers kept firing, cycling through different frequencies, probing for weaknesses. Missile batteries launched everything they had. Hundreds of warheads streaking through space. Kinetic weapons, simple chunks of metal accelerated to incredible speeds, added to the chaos. Thorin stopped being amused. His shields were holding, but the sheer volume of fire was unexpected. These humans fought like animals, throwing everything they had without regard for efficiency or tactics. It was wasteful and crude and surprisingly effective at creating chaos. All ships return fire, Thorin ordered. Disable their weapons, but do not destroy the Worldship. The salvage must remain intact. The Velcro fleet responded with devastating precision. Energy weapons that made human lasers look like flashlights carved through space. Missiles that could think and dodge and adjust their course chased after the New Horizons' defensive drones. In the first minute of combat, the Worldship lost a quarter of its outer weapons. Inside the command center, Bora watched the damage reports scroll across her screens. Red lights appeared everywhere. Hull breaches. Systems offline. Casualties mounting. They were being torn apart. Launch the fighters, Bora ordered. Minseo led her wing out of the hangar. 70 small ships, shuttles, and work pods that had been hastily fitted with weapons. They scattered in all directions, making themselves hard targets. The Velcro ships tried to track them, but there were too many moving too erratically. Minseo dove her shuttle toward a Velcro cruiser, her mining laser firing continuously. The beam splashed harmlessly off the alien shields, but it made them notice her. Point defense weapons tracked her ship. She jinked and rolled, using every trick she had learned in flight school. Behind her, 3 other pilots made the same run from different angles. The Velcro cruiser had to split its attention. That was the plan. Keep them distracted. Keep them busy. Give the New Horizon time to reload its weapons. Blue Squadron, hit the flanking ships, Minseo called over the radio. Red Squadron, focus on their flagship. Make them look at us instead of the Worldship. A pilot named Kyung-soo laughed over the radio, his voice tight with fear and adrenaline. They are definitely looking at us now. His shuttle exploded a second later, hit by a Velcro energy weapon. Minseo saw it happen and forced herself to keep flying. Mourn later, fight now. Dae-hyun commanded the Taeguk Pioneer in the thick of the battle. His ship was small and fast, perfect for hit-and-run attacks. He targeted the sensors and communication arrays on the Velcro ships, trying to blind and confuse them. Every shot counted. Every second of confusion was another chance for someone else to land a killing blow. Captain, 3 contacts breaking off to pursue us, Ji-won called from sensors. Let them come, Dae-hyun said. He angled his ship toward the densest part of the debris field. The Velcro ships followed. They were faster, but Dae-hyun knew this debris field like his own home. He had spent weeks mapping it while preparing defenses. He dove between 2 massive chunks of rock, barely fitting through the gap. The Velcro ships spread out, trying to cut him off. Dae-hyun waited until they were committed, then triggered the mines his people had hidden in the debris. Explosions blossomed throughout the field. One Velcro ship took a direct hit and spun out of control. Another was damaged badly enough that it had to retreat. Dae-hyun brought his ship around and headed back toward the main battle. He had bought the New Horizon maybe 2 minutes. It would have to be enough. On the Worldship itself, Jae-sung and his civilian defenders waited behind makeshift barricades. The Velcro were attempting to board. Cutting torches burned through the outer hull in multiple locations. Everyone knew what was coming. Close combat. Hand to hand. The ugliest kind of fighting. The first breach opened in the cargo bay. Velcro soldiers poured through, wearing armor that looked more like exoskeletons than clothing. They moved fast, carried weapons that fired bolts of superheated plasma. They expected terrified civilians running in panic. What they found was Jae-sung and 200 people who had decided they would rather die fighting than die in cages. The humans opened fire. Bullets ricocheted off Velcro armor but found gaps and joints. Plasma bolts burned through human defenses, but the humans kept firing. They threw everything they had, improvised explosives and industrial chemicals in pure desperate courage. The Velcro soldiers were better trained, better equipped, but they had never fought humans before. They did not expect prey that fought back with such fury. The battle in the cargo bay became a brutal grind, neither side willing to give ground. In her laboratory, Yoonji watched the battle unfold on her monitors. The Velcro fleet was pressing hard. More ships were moving into position. They were preparing to finish the fight. It was time. We are ready, Yoonji reported to Bora. But Admiral, this is going to hurt. Tell everyone to brace. Bora activated the emergency protocols. Warning klaxons sounded throughout the Worldship. Everyone stopped what they were doing and grabbed onto something solid. All ships pull back to defensive positions, Bora ordered. Mincio, get your people clear, now. The fighters broke off their attacks and dove back toward the New Horizon. Not all of them made it. The Velcro fleet, sensing weakness, pressed forward. Thorin smiled. The humans were retreating. It was almost over. Yunji activated the modified quantum drive. Deep in the heart of the New Horizon, machinery that was never meant to operate this way roared to life. The drive created gravitational distortions as part of its normal function. Now overloaded and deliberately unstable, those distortions became a weapon. A wave of twisted gravity radiated out from the Worldship. It hit the Velcro fleet like an invisible hammer. Their shields, designed to stop physical projectiles and energy weapons, flickered and failed. For 30 seconds, maybe 40, the alien ships were completely unprotected. Fire everything, Bora ordered. Everything we have left. The New Horizon unleashed hell. Every weapon that still functioned fired at once. Mining lasers burned through unshielded hulls. Missiles found their targets and detonated inside enemy ships. Kinetic weapons punched through armor like paper. Even the civilian defenders threw containers full of toxic chemicals out of the airlocks, hoping they would hit something. The Velcro fleet staggered. 2 cruisers exploded. 3 more were crippled, venting atmosphere and spinning out of control. Thorin watched in horror as his perfect formation fell apart. In 40 seconds of unshielded combat, the humans had destroyed or disabled 15 of his ships. Then the quantum drive shut down. The New Horizon shook and groaned. Hull plates cracked. Systems failed throughout the ship. Yunji's monitors went red with warnings. The drive was dead, maybe forever. But it had worked. The remaining Velcro ships pulled back, their shields coming back online. Thorin screamed orders, trying to reorganize his fleet. The humans had hurt him badly. He had lost a third of his ships to primitives flying cargo containers and mining equipment. But he still had numbers. He still had firepower. And he was angry now. All ships, Thorin transmitted. Ignore the salvage protocols. Destroy them. Kill every human on that ship. The Velcro fleet prepared for a final assault. This time there would be no mercy. The New Horizon drifted through space like a small metal world. Its surface was covered with docking ports, sensor arrays, and massive engines that glowed with blue light. Inside, 8 million people lived their lives, unaware of the danger rushing toward them from the darkness. Admiral Bora stood in the command center, a vast room filled with displays showing every system of the Worldship. She was a tall woman with gray hair pulled back in a tight bun, and her uniform was pressed sharp enough to cut. She had served in Earth's fleet for 30 years before volunteering for this mission. When the message came in from the Taiguk pioneer requesting an emergency docking, she knew something was very wrong. Dae-Hyun arrived on the command deck within minutes of his ship docking. He looked exhausted, his uniform wrinkled from 3 days of hard travel. Bora listened to his report in silence, her face growing harder with each sentence. They think we are salvage, Dae-Hyun finished. They are sending a war fleet to capture us. Bora activated the emergency council protocol. Within an hour, the key leaders of the New Horizon gathered in the conference room. Civilian Director Sang-woo arrived first, a middle-aged man who oversaw all non-military operations on the Worldship. He had been a teacher on Earth before joining the colony mission. Chief Scientist Yunji came next, carrying a tablet filled with data. She was young for her position, barely 40, but her mind was sharp as broken glass. Show them everything, Bora ordered Dae-Hyun. Dae-Hyun played the recordings of the alien transmissions. Hyun-woo had worked day and night during their return journey to decode more of the alien language. The news got worse with every translation. The Velcro Confederacy was a coalition of 6 different alien species that controlled this entire region of the Andromeda Galaxy. They had laws, territories, and military might that spanned hundreds of star systems, and they viewed humanity as an unrecognized species with no rights. They want our technology, Yunji said, studying the data. Our quantum navigation computers, our genetic diversity, everything we brought from Earth. But most valuable to them is our ability to calculate faster than light jumps without artificial intelligence. Our brains work differently than theirs. They want to study us, take us apart, figure out how we do it. Sang-woo looked sick. They are talking about our people like we are research specimens. Not just specimens, Dae-Hyun said quietly. Salvage, property, Things to be claimed and divided among the winners. Bora pulled up a tactical display. Tell me about our defenses. Yunji worked her tablet. The New Horizon was designed for peaceful colonization. We have defensive weapons to deal with pirates or small threats. Point defense lasers, kinetic barriers, a dozen missile batteries. Against a coordinated fleet with superior technology, we would last maybe an hour in direct combat. What about running? Sangwoo asked.
Can we outrun them?
No, Yunji said flatly. Their ships are faster than ours. The New Horizon is massive. It was built for stability and safety, not speed. If we try to run, they will catch us. The room fell silent. Bora looked at each person around the table. Options. I want to hear all of them. Medical Officer Yujin spoke up. She was a small woman with gentle eyes that had seen too much suffering. We could try to negotiate. Explain that we are peaceful. Show them we are people, not cargo. They already know we are people, Daehyun said. That is why they want us. Living specimens are more valuable than dead ones. Jinho, Bora's tactical officer, stood up. He was a large man with scars on his hands from his years working on military vessels. We fight. We fortify our defenses, use every resource we have, and make them pay for every meter of hull they try to take. Against superior numbers and technology? Sangwoo shook his head. That is suicide. Surrendering is suicide, Jinho shot back. At least if we fight, we might take some of them with us. We might make them think twice about coming after other human ships in the future. Bora held up her hand for silence. Both approaches have merit. Sangwoo, I want you to prepare a diplomatic package. Everything about human culture, our history, our values. Make it clear we are intelligent beings worthy of respect. We will send it on a fast courier ship to attempt first contact under peaceful terms. You think it will work? Sangwoo asked. No, Bora said honestly, but it will buy us time. While you are preparing the diplomatic mission, we will prepare for war. Jinho, start working on defensive strategies. Use every resource we have. Yunji, I need you to find weaknesses in their technology. There has to be something we can exploit, Yunji nodded. I will need access to all the sensor data from the Taeguk Pioneer. Every reading they took of those alien ships? You have it, Bora confirmed. Daehyun, your ship needs repairs. Get it done fast. I want every scout vessel we have ready for combat operations. The meeting broke up with everyone rushing to their tasks. Bora remained in the conference room with Jinho, staring at the tactical display. Can we really win this? Jinho asked quietly. No, Bora said, but we can make them regret attacking us. We can hurt them badly enough that the next time they see a human ship, they will think twice. That is all we can do. 3 days later, the diplomatic courier ship was ready. It was a small, fast vessel designed for exactly this kind of mission. Sangwoo had filled its computers with everything humanity had to offer: art, music, literature, scientific achievements, messages of peace in every language Earth had ever spoken. Hae-won volunteered to pilot the mission. She stood in the docking bay with her father, preparing to launch. Daehyun wanted to forbid it, to keep his daughter safe on the New Horizon. But he knew that look in her eyes. She had inherited his stubbornness. Come back alive, he said simply. I will try, Hae-won promised. She hugged him tight, then climbed into the courier ship. Bora watched from the command center as the small ship launched and raced away toward the alien fleet. The Velcro Confederacy had given them a meeting location, a neutral zone between star systems. It would take Hae-won 12 hours to reach it. During those 12 hours, the New Horizon transformed. Every construction drone was repurposed. Every mining tool became a weapon. Cargo containers were filled with explosives and fitted with basic guidance systems. The Worldship had factories designed to build homes and tools for the new colony. Now those factories churned out ammunition and armor plating. Jinho organized the defense in layers. The outer layer consisted of automated drones and mines. The middle layer was the Worldship's defensive weapons, reinforced and upgraded with every spare part they could find. The inner layer was people. Every person on the New Horizon who had any military training was recruited. Rifles were distributed. Civilians practiced basic combat drills in the parks and streets. Yunji worked without sleep, analyzing the alien technology. She discovered something interesting. The Velcro ships used powerful energy shields, but those shields operated on specific frequencies. They were designed to stop energy weapons and high-velocity projectiles. But they had a weakness. Extreme gravitational distortions could disrupt the shield frequencies, causing them to flicker and fail. The New Horizons' quantum drive created exactly that kind of distortion when it operated. If they could weaponize it, overload it, push it beyond safe limits, they might be able to disable the alien shields. For 30 seconds, maybe a minute, the Velcro fleet would be vulnerable. It would also probably tear the New Horizon apart. The quantum drive was not designed to be used as a weapon. Pushing it that hard could cause catastrophic failures throughout the ship. But it was a chance. 12 hours after she left, Haywan's courier ship returned. She was flying fast, her ship trailing smoke from damage to its hull. She crashed more than landed in the docking bay, and Dae-hyun ran to pull her from the wreckage. They refused. Haywan gasped, blood running from a cut on her forehead. They laughed at us. They said we are a primitive species with no rights under galactic law. They gave us 48 hours to surrender the Worldship intact or they will destroy us. Bora received the news in the command center. She looked at the countdown timer that had just appeared on every screen. 48 hours until the Velcro fleet arrived. Send a message to every person on this ship, Bora ordered. Tell them the truth. Tell them we are going to fight. And tell them that humanity has never surrendered to anyone, and we will not start now. The stars looked different this far from home. Captain Dae-hyun stood on the bridge of the Taeguk Pioneer and watched the endless darkness through the main viewport. His ship was small compared to most vessels in the human fleet, but it was fast and packed with the best sensors money could buy. That made it perfect for exploration work, which was exactly what they were doing now. Behind Dae-hyun, his crew worked quietly at their stations. Ji-won sat at the sensor console, her eyes fixed on the streams of data flowing across her screens. Taemin was in the engine room below, making sure their quantum drive stayed in perfect condition. They had been out here for 3 months mapping star systems and looking for threats that might endanger the New Horizon. The New Horizon was why they were all here. It was humanity's greatest achievement, a world ship the size of a small moon. 8 million people lived inside its metal shell, traveling through space toward a new home in the Andromeda Galaxy. Dae-hyun had walked its streets before this mission. He had seen the parks and rivers built inside, the cities that glowed with artificial sunlight, the schools where children learned about Earth while traveling through the void. His own daughter Haywan lived there, training to be a pilot. The world ship moved slowly through space, taking years to travel between star systems. Scout ships like the Taeguk Pioneer went ahead, making sure the path was safe. It was boring work most of the time. Scan a system, check for hazards, move to the next one. Day after day of empty space and dead planets. Captain, I have something, Ji-won said suddenly. Her voice was tense. Dae-hyun walked over to her station. What is it? Multiple contacts coming from 3 different star systems. Ji-won's fingers moved quickly across her console. They are not human ships. The engine signatures are completely unknown. Dae-hyun felt his stomach tighten. Humanity had been traveling through space for 200 years, but they had never encountered intelligent alien life. There had been theories, debates, and hopes, but no contact. Until now, apparently. How many ships? He asked. I count 17 so far. No, wait, 23, they are still coming. Ji-won looked up at him. Captain, they are all converging on this area. On us. Dae-hyun activated the ship-wide intercom. All hands battle stations. This is not a drill. He turned back to Ji-won. Can you tell where they came from? The closest group launched from a station near the 4th planet of the Kepler 442 system. The others came from further out. Captain, they are moving fast. Faster than our ships can manage. Taemin's voice crackled over the intercom from engineering. Captain, I am picking up energy readings that do not match anything in our database. These ships use technology we have never seen before. The bridge lights switched to red as the battle station's alert sounded. Dae-hyun's mind raced. First contact with aliens, and they were showing up in force. This could be a greeting party, or it could be something much worse. Try to open a communications channel, Dae-hyun ordered. All standard frequencies. Let them know we come in peace. Ji-won worked for several minutes, sending out messages in every format humanity had developed. Radio waves, laser pulses, mathematical sequences. Nothing came back except silence. They are not responding, Ji-won said. But Captain, I am picking up transmissions between their ships. They are talking to each other. Can you decode it? Dae-hyun asked. Hyun-woo is working on it now. Hyun-woo was their linguistics expert. A thin man who spent most of his time studying dead Earth languages and theoretical alien communication patterns. He rushed onto the bridge with a tablet in his hands, his face pale. "Captain, I have something," Hyunwoo said. "The language is complex, but their computers are doing most of the translation work for us. They are broadcasting on frequencies that suggest they expect others to understand them." "What are they saying?" Daehyun demanded. Hyunwoo swallowed hard. "They are discussing salvage rights. They detected the New Horizons quantum signature and identified it as valuable. They are arguing about which faction gets to claim the prize." The bridge went silent. Daehyun stared at Hyunwoo. "Prize? They think our worldship is salvage?" "Yes, Captain. They are calling it a treasure ship. They mentioned human genetic material, our navigation technology, and something about our neural architecture being unique. They want to capture the New Horizon and take everything inside it." Jiwon gasped. Taemin's voice came over the intercom, filled with anger. "They want to take our people? Our families?" Daehyun forced himself to stay calm. "Hyunwoo, are they planning to attack?" "They are mobilizing a war fleet. The ships we see now are just scouts like us. The main force is gathering. They have declared the New Horizon a salvage prize under something called the Velcro Confederacy laws. They do not recognize humanity as having any rights in this region of space." Daehyun felt cold. 8 million people on the New Horizon, including his daughter. Families, children, elderly people who had left Earth to build a new world, and these aliens saw them as nothing more than valuable cargo to be seized. "How long until their main fleet arrives?" he asked. "Based on their communications, maybe 4 or 5 days, Hyunwoo said. "They are gathering ships from multiple systems." Daehyun made his decision. "Jiwon, plot a course back to the New Horizon. Maximum speed. Do not use any active sensors that might give away our destination. Passive scanning only." "What about trying to communicate with them?" Hyunwoo asked. "Maybe if we explain, they already know we are here," Daehyun interrupted. "They know we are human. And they are gathering a war fleet. We need to warn the New Horizon now while we still have time. If we transmit a message, we might lead them straight to our people." The crew understood. Jiwon plotted the course while Taemin pushed the engines to their maximum safe speed. The Taeguk Pioneer turned away from the alien ships and began racing back the way they had come. As they accelerated away, Daehyun watched the sensor display. The alien ships were not pursuing them. They were continuing to gather in the area where the scouts had first detected the quantum signature. They were preparing, organizing, getting ready for a hunt. Daehyun sat down in his command chair and tried to think. The New Horizon was a colony ship, not a warship. It had some defensive weapons, but nothing designed to fight a fleet. It was built to carry people safely through space, to protect them from radiation and asteroids, not from hostile aliens with advanced technology. He thought about Haewon, probably sitting in a simulator right now, practicing flight maneuvers. She wanted to be an explorer like him. She dreamed of discovering new worlds. He wondered if he would ever see her again. "Captain, we are clear of their sensor range," Jiwon reported. "We can make it back to the New Horizon in 3 days if we push the engines hard." "Do it," Daehyun ordered. "And pray we get there in time to make a difference."